So one of the ways that we know of you, the world knows of you, is weddings, births, deaths, this ceremonial aspect of that. How did that come about?
Two ways. The way the weddings came about, I was visiting my family of origin. I don't go very often up there, but I remember it was July 2004, and they were all kind of sitting around, and I wanted to kind of be in the room physically, but I need to shield myself. It's very triggering for me. And so I'm reading the New York Times. I'm physically in the room, but I'm elsewhere. And I read this article about this growing need for wedding officiants. And I thought, because people are, non-religious, they have mixed cultures for all kinds of reasons. And I thought, well, I'm a public speaker and a writer. I can do this. And I kind of backburnered that for a couple of years. And then I decided to try it. Some friends of mine were getting married. They'd been married and divorced, and they were getting remarried. And their kids are friends of mine. So like around a little bit younger than me. So I did their wedding, and it was so fun. I thought, that's it, I'm going to do this. And I found a wonderful woman named Kim who used to own Unbridled, and she offered to train me, and she did, and she got me leads, and I really took to it. I loved being part of it. And I kind of have this joke. It's like those who can do, those who can't preach, because I know I'm twice divorced, kind of have a disastrous train wreck of a relationship history or whatever, elements of design, whatever you want to call it. And I loved it. And then I decided at some point I would start doing memorial services. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure if the first memorial service was my friend Boots, whose service was at the Museum of Modern Art in Fort Worth. She had been a docent there. She's a great friend of mine, a mother of a great friend of mine, a knitting friend of mine. But I like that too. It's a different set of energy, but it's transitions. And to back up a little bit, in 2005, I taught at a private high school, Griffin School. I wasn't a full-time teacher there, but I was a literature teacher. And one of the students, Austin, he wasn't my student, but it's a very, very small student body, and he died. He was hit by a truck and died. And his memorial service is one of the first I went to. I'd been to like a grandmother funeral or whatever, but where I just I wept and wept, and I understood finally that the importance of this ritual that I didn't understand before, like how they say, funerals are for the living, or humans need ritual. And being a non-theistic person, religious people don't get to corner the market on the fact that we need ritual to commemorate births and deaths and everything in between. And so I don't want to sound overly earnest, but I take my job pretty seriously, and I like to really work with people to do super customized services. And to give the best example I can give you is, not always, but almost always, with permission of the family, I will conclude memorial services with a standing ovation for the deceased. And it serves two purposes. Primarily, it honors the life of the person. And really there's a secondary pragmatic function, which is it's a psychological shift. It's like we're going to move now from this state over to the reception. It's kind of an in-between step. So that's just one example. And I think all kinds of animals have rituals, right? I think of the elephants, right? And so I'm so fortunate that I get to do what I get to do. It's an amazing way to interact with people. It's an amazing way to be intimately part of someone's life, but short term, so that the introvert, can run away back to my bedroom.
Exactly.
But I forge friendships often. So for example, I will sometimes have families. I've had this happen more than once, where a couple who asked me to marry them years later will ask me to do a baby blessing, or to do the funeral of a parent or a grandparent. So that's also another human ritual, I think, to have. It's not like I'm their spiritual counselor. It's not like they come to my tiny chapel every week and I give them my thoughts. But still, there's some continuity to inviting the same person to do the wedding of this sibling and that sibling, and the funeral of this parent or grandparent. It's for someone who came from a family of origin that was tough, It's healing. The services are not about me. They're about the people that we're honoring. But I get this added bonus of doing some healing myself. It's the connection. It always boils down to the connection, and I get to feel the connection all the time.
It's like the law of conservation is that there is no such thing as a one-way blessing.
Yes, there's a word that I wish I could remember the name of the word. It's a variation on mitzvah, which is a Hebrew word for like a good deed.
Yeah.
And so I recently, yesterday, I just finished round 4 of revisions on a novel that I co-wrote earlier this year. And I don't want to give away too much, but hilariously enough, and the book's not a comedy, but I say it's hilarious being non-theistic, our main character is God, is our protagonist. And one of the characters that he meets, Miriam, she belongs to a temple in Colorado, and she talks about a specific kind of mitzvah, which is, the visual I'm getting in my head right now is like it. Oh, you know what she says? It involves hand and heart, or I think of it like a handshake. It's like, givers need receivers.
Yes.
It has to go both ways, and it took me a long, long, long time in my life to understand the importance of receiving.
Yep. Yeah. And when you accept praise, I mean, the whole part, have you had a hard time accepting, because you're getting more and more people, because many, many times we've had difficulties with that. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah, it's hard it's a very weird conflict, right? Because one of these terms that I learned in recovery is people pleasing, and a lot of terms I learned in recovery, I'm like, well, of course I'm people pleaser. We want to please people, like, until we sort of learn to unpack that, and that it's like about trying to earn your place in the world or whatever, or trying to avoid being abused, or all the things that it's about, right? So, wait, I've already forgot. Give me the question. Feed me the question again.
Well, we were talking about
receiving praise. So it's this thing that I've sought forever. I think part of the reason I did so well academically, I mean, I had the capacity for it, but I also was thriving on all this positive feedback from my teachers, that stuff that I wasn't getting at home. So it was a reward system, right?
Of course.
And so now, I'm the age that I am, and do I love praise? Yes. And do I wince in the face of it? Absolutely. And I guess maybe I hadn't thought about this before. Maybe I have. That it's kind of part of my recovery work, is that I want to hear, I want positive stuff, but I also want to not rely on reassurance and external validation. So it's kind of tricky. We all need connection. I think we all need some praise. I have this thing going on right now where it's been really fun this summer. To back up to 2 summers ago, I had just gotten out of, or been discarded from, a really toxic relationship, and I quite literally could not.
On the road where you see this, right?
It was. It's horrifying, and I couldn't even look in the mirror. Like not that I spent a lot of time in front of the mirror, but I would catch a glimpse of myself, like brushing my teeth, and I would literally step away from the mirror. It was too painful,
I understand.
And I couldn't eat. I had. I was in very bad shape. Now this summer, a couple years have passed. I got into recovery work, and it's hilarious. It just happened the other night. I was at a gas station on South Congress, and this young man, like 20, early 20s, he's like, man, I want to look just like you, or want to be just like you when I'm an old man. Or it didn't hurt my feelings. I have a lot of white hair, whatever. But the point I'm slowly getting at here is that people have come up to me a lot this summer to praise my appearance, which is funny to me, because
isn't it?
And I know, like, I know that they sometimes they try to figure, like, is it my braids, or is it my tattoos, or is it my boots? I was actually telling this story recently to my collaborator, my co-writer Steve, and I say what they're really seeing is what we call our inner bling. Is that I'm the more healing work I do, the more I don't even love the word happy, because happy can be the top of the roller coaster, but the more secure and safe I feel, the more free I feel in my creative process, the more I stop getting into toxic situations. That's what people are seeing in me.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they're seeing.
And I feel that we have moved up, that we have a higher emotional intelligence as a species, so we're resonating with that more than we did years ago. And the sensitivity that we're all feeling, and that the people are resonating with that.
I love resonance. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing it happen. Let's talk a little bit, because I want to know a little bit about this, about Bob.
Oh,
Talk a
my
little
Bob,
about
my
your
Bob.
Bob.
So in 2015, on another rare trip back to New Jersey, some friends, many of whom I hadn't seen for 30 or 33 years, I was up for my mom's 80th birthday party, and these old friends of mine threw a welcome back party for me. And one of the committee members was my kindergarten crush, John Logan.
Yeah.
And I told them all that I was coming up, but I've had too much anxiety to see everybody. And they were like, well, too bad, we're having a party for you. And one of the guys who came to the party, who drove down from North Jersey, my old friend Sean, we'd been on student council together, he knew that I was doing this officiant work, and one thing led to another. You can read the book for the longer version. And
This is the Tao of
Bob.
Bob.
Yeah. So Sean knew I wanted to buy this tiny chapel in Luling and move it to a piece of land. And he said, well, look, if you sell your house and buy the chapel, my wife and I will invest in you, and we'll help you buy a piece of land. And so I found this ranch out in Garfield, just 20 minutes outside of Austin, and it was an abandoned meth lab and junkyard. It was a mess. And I told Sean, oh my gosh, it's a turnkey. Come take a look at it. He's like, it's a tear down. But he and Jen said, we believe in you, and we trust you. So here's our investment. And I busted butt. And anyway, along the way, my friend Ellen, her mom died in July of 2017, whatever year it was, 2016. And her dad, Bob, was this farmer in Indiana. He wanted to come to live near Ellen and really get to know her. Ellen had left when she was young, and Bob was a farmer, so he worked all these long hours. He didn't want to live in the city. And Ellen said, does anyone know a place he can live? I said, I live in a 3,200 square foot house by myself. Bring him, whatever, bring him out. Bring him out I think she wanted to bring him out for the winter. And here comes this guy. So we cleared out the meth lab junkyard stuff, redid the house, and Bob moves in. And at first I'm thinking, well, how nice of me to do this man a favor. And in the midst of this, I'm in this horrible toxic relationship with a really abusive person who's abusing me, spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, like a mess. And Bob's watching this, and he's not rooting for this relationship, but he's keeping it. He's pouring love into me.
Yeah.
So fast forward, the relationship ends, much to Bob's joy, though he kept a lid on that too. And Bob and I just got closer and closer and closer, and the love that he poured into me was so unconditional, and he so reparented me, and he's so I got it. He worked with me every day to let me know that I was loved, and that I deserved the space that I took up, and that I was good. And it was hard to take this praise. It was hard to feel it. I remember the day of the final breakup, because this was a tumultuous relationship, and I went into Bob's room and I said, well, that's it. He broke up with me. And I remember, this is very emotional for me, I was dressed, I had to go perform a wedding, and my head was a mess. And he said, honey, you look so beautiful right now. And he said, I'm really glad you're not drinking. And it was, I'll never forget it. He was like I say, the most special, my son, but Bob. And then I only had him for 14 months, and then he died. But I got to be with him through the dying experience too. I got to be with him through 3 heart attacks. I got to sit with him for hours and hours in the hospital. It was scary and sad and horrible and beautiful. It was everything. And then he went away, but he didn't go away. He comes back all the time as a mockingbird.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I think of this. My mother died, and I called a dear friend of hers, the first person I called, and told her, and she said, you know, death is only a horizon, and our horizon is the limit of our sight.
That's so beautiful.
That was her first reaction. That was the statement, and that was, and so here he returns, and I don't know that there is any place to go.
I like the Iris-Dement line. I prefer to let the mystery be. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be debate about it.
And I don't think that there is any. And one of the neat things is that it appears to me that life is custom designed, so that each one of us can have exactly that perfect experience, and choose metaphor, mockingbird. Fine. That the universe has only one answer to every question, and that's yes.
I love that.
Life is hard, and everybody's against me. Yes. Life is a wonderful adventure with ups and downs and challenges, and I'm going to get the most out of it and have a wonderful time. Yes.
And not everybody figures that out. And I don't say that in a pompous, holier than thou way. What I'm saying is I took the hard way a lot. I didn't really know that there were other ways.
No.
And now I've found, well, something I do in another recovery group I'm in is that we learn you don't have to struggle. No, I mean, there's going to be exceptions. We're going to have people, of course there are going to be exceptions, but in the big picture,
Thank you.
I don't need to struggle every day, but I was raised in a way to believe like every day is a struggle. And I was raised in a blue collar situation where, like, my business partner said to me, he watched me grow up and he knows me very well. And he said, there's this mentality, this blue collar mentality that is in my blood.
Sure.
Of like, if you aren't working too many hours a day and feeling really miserable doing it, then something's wrong. And he's really worked to coach me to understand there's a different way, and he's making a lot of headway. I have a number of people in my life who are shining the light down the path for me, and it feels really great. Yeah.
How different would this conversation have been 2 years ago?
We probably wouldn't have it because I was hiding in my house wanting I didn't actively want to kill myself. This was part of it too. It was like I'd know that voice was I know the voice kill yourself was false, but it was exhausting. I'm fighting it. So 2 years ago, it was not good. I mean, I couldn't. I say that now. I'd already written my meditation book. I started a meditation practice maybe 20 years ago. I was still teaching classes. Part of me was showing up, but I was very broken. And what I mean is, I had one of my therapists explain we're always whole. And I have another friend who's my friend Angel, says that, like, even if we're broken inside, we still are contained. We're whole because we're inside of ourselves. Like, I love all the metaphor, like you were saying. But I was, only now can I look back on 2 years ago and kind of really sort of begin to comprehend just how broken I was. And it was not good. But it was this, you know, Leonard Cohen, right? It's how the light gets in. And I like to say, when I shared my story at my recovery group, I like to say the cracks are also how the light gets out, you know, because the people who have loved me back to health, who saw these, I felt like I was dark inside, but there were these tiny little embers, and these human bellows have come along and built the fire back up, and so the light comes out of the cracks now, so I can give and receive.
Yeah.
But that was a period of my life of primarily needing to receive. I was spiritually in critical condition.
Yeah. And there is such, what I feel about you today, here in 2019, in August of 2019, is an incredible groundedness.
Thank you. I really, I feel like I want to do like my Academy Awards speech, but I have to, like, the list is so long of people who've helped me, but I like some really key things that are helping me ground myself. My friend Carol, I jokingly call her my spiritual advisor, but it's not even a joke.
No.
We have a lot of similarities.
Thank you.
She's 20 years older than me, and now I'm at a place where instead of being contrarian, when she says, "Well, this happened to me, it might happen to you," or that you know, given the parallels, instead of saying, "I'll do this my way," or "I'll see," or I don't want to spoiler alert, I will try really hard to listen. She helps me with observation. My writing partner, who just showed up in my life, like
Steve?
I'm not a collaborator by nature. I'm a solo introvert, hider, lock myself in my room with my dogs. But Steve just showed up. Like when we were first starting to get to know each other, I would sometimes just say like, are you real? You know, are you like Harvey the rabbit? Or I couldn't understand, and I still don't entirely understand how we wound up collaborating, but it doesn't matter. It's changed my life in the most profound ways. And Steve is very, very grounded, further down the path than me. Not that it's a competition, but what I'll do is I watch. You know, we have a saying in recovery: if you want what we have, you'll go to any length to get it.
Exactly.
So I watch people who I admire and who seem to me to have a kind of peace that I'm interested in, and I'll emulate them. Hopefully not like the movie Single White Female. No, it's not like that. But like, for example.
But that's modeling, isn't it?
It is modeling. But like, I used to I realized that I was waiting for whatever states need to fall off the country so that we'd have the Atlantic Ocean here, and that's not going to happen. So with some coaching from Steve, I learned how to, instead of being angry at Barton Springs for not being the temperature that I wanted it to be, he coached me with a technique on how to jump in, and I used to get furious when I'd get in that water. Now I get in every single day, and it's a great joy for me. And when we write together, it's a great practice in like, we never have gigantic disagreements, but maybe one person wants to write it a little differently than the other person. There's not ever this. It's learning. It's impossible for me to describe. Carol likes to joke that the real book is how the book came to be. I mean, and we're getting ready to start another book, but to be able to be creative with somebody else in a non-pugilistic fashion, where we encourage each other and see the same way and differently at the same time, it has opened up something inside of me.
God, I can see it. I can see it happening. And this is the shift. You know, I use the metaphor of a telescope or a camera. Let's just say a camera. And the difference between a soft focus and a sharp focus is a tiny little turn. So that the changes, the shifts that are in me, the same to bring things right into crisp focus, into alignment, into flow, is a small step. To me, it's a chasm.
It's both, right? I mean, it's both.
I know.
And to get
I love
into,
paradox, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's all we have, right? I love being in flow, and I've been in flow. The funny thing is, at the end of 2018, I said, not in a hard and fast resolution kind of way, because that's not how I roll, whatever. But I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to take a little break from writing in 2019, not out of like frustration or anything, but I have this ranch to run, and it's a lot to run by myself. I mean, it's a wedding venue. It's not. I have a few lives. I have a little bit of lifestyle.
But you have things to clean. I was reading. You have things to clean. You have to drag stuff out. You have to get stuff ready, and it takes a lot of prep.
And I have to manage. Like, I'm getting some roof repair done, but it's always stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to focus on the ranch in 2019 and try to really ramp up business some, and then I'll get to my writing. But then I suddenly, my magical writing partner appeared and said, would you like to collaborate? And I was like, sure. And so interestingly enough, I guess it's like, maybe what I'm getting at is like, be open to the only answer is yes. My business partner, Sean, will say to me sometimes, I can't believe how quickly you agreed to make this deal. And I said, it just seemed like the right answer. And the right answer to 2019 seemed to be like, yes, I'm going to do these writing projects. And so I I'm in flow a lot. I still have, like all humans who have I have mental health stuff come up. Like I had a little depression recently.
Yep.
It's not like I'm in flow every minute, every second of every day, but being in flow. So if I'm in a depression during a flow period, it's way easier to comprehend that it's going to pass. Because it never feels like it's going to pass, no matter how much experience I have.
No, but just knowing that it is going to pass was the big healing point for me.
It's a big, big, big deal, you know?
To be in the middle of it, because it's just as dark and it's deep, and sometimes it's the hard, but the only thing is that there's that little voice that lets me know, this is going to pass, and that's the difference.
That's one of the biggest things. I've learned so much in recovery, but I remember hearing a friend of mine say that, how he knows that no matter how unokay he's feeling on any given day, that the foundation is, I'm okay. And that's something I remember and carry with me all the time. I have plenty of moments of fretting and obsessive thinking and all the rest of it. I'm certainly not like some enlightened being. I get
but
angry.
Maybe not. Maybe the enlightened beings weren't like that either. Maybe the story is different than what we would think of just from the outside, from the exterior.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really like to think of, you know, like, for example, because I come from a Christian Science, and I went even farther left into the metaphysical world, you know, Emma Curtis Hopkins and Ernest Holmes and all those people.
I don't know those people, but I'll be looking them up.
These are these are the people that Mary Baker Eddy taught, Emma Curtis Hopkins taught Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind, stuff like that. Anyway, it's just basic metaphysics, basic, the same thing that Buddha or whomever talk. Do you ever love that you're in the middle of a conversation, that you're hearing yourself say words, and you have no idea why you were saying this? That you have no idea why you were talking, which is what I was doing. I know I was going somewhere, but I'm laughing at myself. There's a part inside my head going, you have completely forgotten the point of why you started off this conversation.
That's the
I have
flow.
no idea. I have nothing. I know I was going somewhere. It was fun, but
yeah, that's the flow of it. And that's what I love about writing too, is like you can start out with a seed, you know, you can have your characters on the street corner over here, and then before you know it, they're like, I like to just see where things go.
Creative. That's the wonderful part of the creative process. So what projects are on your agenda? What are the things you need to tell us about?
Well, I can't. I'm being kind of secretive. I mean, I'll give you some hints, right? So some hints.
Lay little breadcrumbs.
Little breadcrumbs. Steve and I've got a TV show pitch, a documentary TV show pitch out in LA with his agent, and then the novel. I don't even want to tell you the title, but that's being that's with several agents in New York right now who are reading it. And then, and hopefully it'll be a series of novels. We already know the second one in the series, make it a TV show, like all of it. And then tomorrow, we've already started the outline for this, but we're starting a nonfiction book tomorrow. I can't tell you what that's about either, but
good.
It does connect with being in the flow.
I will say this. I will say The Life of Spike Gillespie. I will put a line on it. Stay tuned.
That's how I feel every morning when I wake up, and every night when I go to bed. You never know. I'll tell you this one super quick, Bob, anecdote. He was, during one of his periods when he was sick, I would sleep on a pallet on the floor in his bedroom because he had vertigo, and I didn't want him to fall, and I wanted to be there for him. And one night I was laying down on the pallet with my eyes closed, and he came out of the loo, and he climbed in bed, and from the floor I called up. I said, "Good night, Pop." And he said, "Good night." And I said, "I'll see you in the morning." And he said, "Yay!" Because he understood that there was going to be an end point to his current existence. You know? And it helped me try to more appreciate that it's a short ride.